Great co-host work right there. That is amazing. You're lucky to have Adam, Tommy.
Oh, absolutely.
It's time for Tolbert and Copes. Let's get it on! Tom Tolbert.
Yeah, thank you. Now if I could ever get some beer.
And Adam Copeland.
We're going to get after it today, man. It's got to come swagger.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck it out. A hard slider breaking beautifully. Down and away. And the Giants have swept the series from the Phillies. The Giants with a 3-run 8th-inning rally to break a 4-4 tie, and then Camilo Doval working and perhaps working on fumes there by the end, perhaps running out of fuel, but he had enough left to strike out Trey Turner with the bases loaded to end the game. The Giants 7, the Phillies 4.
Great to see you, Kerry, you little snack.
I need harmony coming in at Kerry while we're at the bunker. Adam Copeland, Kerry Crowley with you. Tom Tolbert out today. We'll be back with us tomorrow as we get ready. It'll be an off day for the Giants tomorrow. Kerry and I live from the bunker here at Oracle Park following a Giants 7-4 win over the defending National League champions. 7-4 the victory today, 4-3 last night, 6-3 on Monday night. Giants sweep the Phillies. Is that their first sweep of the year? Is that their first 3-game sweep of a series?
I can't remember one.
This year. How about this? Giants get 7 runs, all singles today. 11 singles for the Giants. 13 pitchers used in the game. You get Ross Stripling banged up. Sean Manaea still struggles a bit, but Casey Schmidt, dude, just keeps it going. Snowball effect. It was a fun win, I think, for the Giants today, and a good one to carry into a series that I think you should be pretty competitive in against the Marlins. Let me get you our guest list real quick here before we get rolling today, as we are, again, live from the bunker at Oracle Park. If you've ever wondered what the bunker looked like, we are streaming in the bunker at Oracle Park, KNBR.com, the KNBR app, or you can check it out on Twitch and YouTube. 4:30, Monty Poole, NBC Sports Bay Area, is going to join us. Susan Slusser of the Chronicle will stop by the bunker at 4:50 to talk about this one and some of the injuries, and Matt Mayoko talking some football at 5:15. Kerry, good to see you, dude. What's going on?
It's great to see you. First 2 games of the year at Oracle Park, Copes, and it's like a flashback to 2021. These are my first games since 2021. Giants win, take care of business in the City Connects on Tuesday night. That was a given. And then Wednesday afternoon today, they get the job done. The bullpen, outstanding the last 2 days. But you brought it up, Casey Schmidt. This guy is a lightning rod, and he gives you a reason to come to the ballpark.
There's people giving him like standing ovations.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable what Casey Schmidt is doing, man. He made an incredible play at third base today. And we've been seeing him play second. We've seen him at short. We knew about the glove at third. It was almost just sort of a formality that we were going to put him over there. And I'm anticipating, I don't know, a decade plus, we're going to be watching that guy pick it over at third base. It's incredible where they were with David Villar, playing virtually that exact same role with not nearly as good of a glove, not nearly as good of an athlete. He wasn't swinging the bat as well. We know he's got raw power and he had a big tank in AAA yesterday. But what Casey Schmidt has done, and we talked to Conforto about this on the show yesterday, that podcast is on KNBR.com and the app. He said it's always fun when a young guy comes up like that. But I think they talk about stuff being contagious, like in clubhouses, and people feed off of each other. I feel like when fans feel it, like I remember when Lincecum came up in 07, there was a buzz and there was a hype. But it was different than this because we didn't look at him coming up as the start of something that was going to vault us into the next era. We hadn't had a pitcher like that in however many years since Juan Marichal, really, Gaylord Perry. Like, you hadn't had a pitcher of that status in the National League in that time. You also had Barry chasing a home run record. So the season, the goals, the expectations were much different. We knew it was kind of the final hurrah for Bonds. It was the first year of Zito. There was a bunch of different storylines. This year sort of provided the opportunity for something like this to happen. I'm stoked it's happening, but also you can see it around the stadium. When he comes up to bat, when he makes a big play, when he fields it, when he makes a throw. Yeah. He's got the 3 hardest throws across the diamond. What is it, 3 of the top 4 now? 3
of the top 4 now,
Across the diamond in baseball, including the number 1 in 2023 and the fastest ball ever thrown by a Giants infielder in the StatCast era going back to 2018. I just, the opportunity has presented this for him. He's grabbed it, but it's not just happening in the clubhouse, it's trickling out to us on the outside.
And I think what is so important to remember here is Giants fans have waited and waited for years to have the homegrown position player that they can get excited about, because you go through the last 10 years and there has been a long drought. You went through the Sabian and Evans era when they brought up Matt Cain, Tim Lincecum, Madison Bumgarner, Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt, Joe Panic. The list went on and on. Giants fans just got accustomed to it for so long. They were blessed with this incredible homegrown group of players. It was so easy to root for. The prospect pipeline gave and gave to the Giants, and that's why this franchise won 3 World Series. And then there's been this significant drought where you've hung your hopes on guys like Joey Bart, Elliot Ramos. I go back to Chris Shaw, Chris Stratton, Kyle Crick, former first-round draft picks. Tyler Beatty was a guy. Every Giants fan wanted to attach themselves to someone, and they wanted to believe. And then these guys would come to the big league level. Sometimes they'd have moderate success at the start. Sometimes they would really flounder and they go back to AAA. But right out of the gate, first night, second at bat, Casey Schmidt homered, and he hasn't slowed down. He's been the spark plug that this team needed. It's honestly, it is not surprising to me to see that the way this fan base embraced him. You mentioned the standing ovation. It's deserved for what he's done. A 20-23 team, not much to get excited about. A 20-23 team with Casey Schmidt. Now there's something to hang your hat on.
I got to tell you, 20-23 looks a lot better than 19-23. I know, like, statistically and math-wise, it is better than 19-23. But when you're in a different, like, tens of numbers there, I want to get into that same 10 because then you feel like you're chasing. It's sort of like that logic in basketball. If you can cut it to single digits,
is that logic anywhere aside from the Bay Area?
Yeah, well, it happens in college basketball all the time. I think you see it all the time in college hoops. They think a team needs to go. It's a game of runs. Can you survive the run? Can you force this game to get into single digits? And then teams start to feel pressure, and you see that happen over the course of 7-game series too, right? Like,
yeah.
Who owns the pressure in those moments? But Casey Schmidt has risen to the occasion. Giants look really good in taking down this Phillies team, who boast a pretty damn good offense.
Yeah.
Stott at the top, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber. Schwarber, by the way, nice. Would you call that a diving catch in left field by Kyle
belly
Schwarber?
flop?
Belly flop?
Yeah.
Yeah? You like that one?
Diving?
He didn't. You know when it's a dive is because a guy goes down, makes the catch, and then he slides across the grass like that. He kind of like planted down, sort of like the bunt that Joey Bart laid down.
That
just
beautiful
sort of spiked
bunt
and died. The Giants today 6 for 16 with runners in scoring position. Again, as I pointed out, 11 hits. All of them were singles. They put up 7 runs. They led 4-0, and then that allowed them to come on back. Ross Stripling leaves the game with back tightness. I know fans have been upset about it. Yeah, I hate the narrative of they don't spend money because it's just not true. This offseason they did. They didn't land the guys we wanted, but they spent money.
Yeah.
The bigger gripe, if you have one, is that the guys they spent money on are not performing in the way that we had hoped. Now, Michael Conforto had been really good coming into yesterday's game. He'd hit a homer in 4 of his last 6 even. Entering today, I guess it's 4-7 coming into today's game. But Minaya and Stripling have pitched in virtually every one of the same games, it seems like, together. They are not going deep. They get hit. They've been injured. The injuries aren't their fault, per se, but the lack of execution is. I mean, Minaya was throwing the ball harder at the start of the year, is still not missing bats, and is having trouble throwing strikes. You let him get back in it today.
Yeah, it's alarming to see what they've done, and I think Ross Stripling comes out with back tightness, and he's probably out for the month. That's probably an IL stint. You probably go back to AAA, work on a few things in the bullpen, and get right. Who knows what the Giants do with that slot in the rotation, but I think the real takeaway from the last 2 days, specifically with Alex Cobb leaving early on Tuesday night, Copes, is the bullpen got the job done against a really talented Phillies lineup. You just mentioned Bryson Stott, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber hitting 5th, JT Realmuto hitting 6th. There are no gimmies in these Phillies lineup. Like against the Diamondbacks, when the Giants lost 3 of 4, Giants fans were so frustrated. Those were abysmal games to watch. There were a lot of gimmies in that lineup, and you felt like the bullpen wasn't putting it together. The starters weren't going deep enough in games. I go back to the game where
offense wasn't all that.
The offense was terrible. The offense was terrible down in Arizona, where they've historically hit pretty well through the years at Chase Field. But you look at what the bullpen did the last 2 days. This group can get right. Taylor Rogers, I don't think he's allowed an earned run since April 15th. He's been on quite a run right now. Brebbia the last 2 days, excellent work. Scott Alexander has gotten out of some tough jams, and you start to see a path here to where, look, I'm not saying the Giants are going to go on a run, but I am saying you look around the rest of the National League, you see the Mets. They're terrible right now. Everyone's they're writing the obituary of the 2023 Mets, and it's May, and this is a $442 million team. Padres, have they won today? Did they lose a series to the Royals? Get back to me on that one. St. Louis Cardinals, we're starting 50 years. Philadelphia Phillies. I'm just saying, like, you look around the National League and a bunch of teams that were expected and picked to be ahead of the San Francisco Giants not living up to expectation. So there's huge opportunity here.
The Cardinals are like the worst team in the National League right now, aren't they? 17-26 are the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, and they've been on a run.
You get the defending MVP, National League MVP, and you got Arenado over there at third base, plus tons of talent elsewhere.
Speaking of Arenado, it's easy to see the defense. Schmidt giving him a run for his money as a Gold Glover over the next few years. With Arenado aging,
you think so? You think you've seen that already? Well, of course, the aging stuff obviously plays into that. The same as like if Matt Chapman were playing in the National League, he would have been giving Arenado a run for his money. Who are the other elite third basemen right now defensively? Besides Arenado in the National League.
I mean, in the National League, it's hard to tell.
Tom is not a good defensive third baseman.
No, he's not. They moved him to the corners. They moved him to first base.
Today they moved him over to Harrison. What'd you say, Tim? We have to go, is what Tim said. All right, well, we will get back into this. Susan Slusser is going to stop by the bunker in about 20 minutes. Let's get into a little NBA, though, on the other side. Monty Poole is going to stop by the end of the Warriors season. Could it be the end of an era? We'll talk to him about where they go this offseason. Our first chance to talk to Monty Poole since the Warriors were eliminated by the Lakers, who then, by the way, lost a hell of a Game 1. We've got another Game 1 tonight in the Eastern Conference Final. We'll talk about that with Monty as well. It's Tolbert and Copes. Kerry Crowley hanging out with me in the bunker from Oracle Park. Check it out. Streaming now. KNBR, KNBR.com, the KNBR app. You can stream it on YouTube. Am I missing anything, Kerry?
Twitch.
Just come on by. We're here. Tolbert and Copes, the sports leader.
Back to Tom Tolbert and Adam Copeland. Tolbert and Copes. Download the KNBR app and listen anywhere, anytime. We are KNBR 104.5 and 6.8, the sports leader.
Back in Tolbert and Copes, Adam Copeland, Kerry Crowley hanging out with me today from the bunker at Oracle Park. We are streaming live on YouTube and the KNBR app as well as KNBR.com. Here to talk a little basketball with us as we are into the conference finals. Sans the Warriors. Monty Poole covers the Warriors for NBC Sports Bay Area. Monty, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, man. Do you know what to do with yourself, man? I mean, I feel like I feel like this time of year, you're usually busy for another month and a half or so, right?
Usually that's the case, yeah. And they made 6 straight runs to the finals, and then, of course, they missed the playoffs for 2 years, and we're in a pandemic. So what are you going to do about that? So this year, trust me, I'm finding things to do. Usually they're things that I said I was going to do 2 years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for me, it's stuff I was going to do in COVID. Then I was like, I'll get around to that again. I think I'll learn sourdough this time now that the Warriors are out, how to make a sourdough starter. Talking to Monty Poole here on the UMA guest line. Just sort of a wrap-up thought on not the series itself, how you saw the season play out. I think a lot of us, and Tom and I talked about it for months, saw this as a team that had the makings or the makeup of a championship caliber team because we'd seen them do it so many other times, though we never really saw them put together that run this year. They showed flashes of it against the Kings and sort of had that medal. But when Steve Kerr said afterwards, we maxed out, I kind of felt that. I sort of seemed like it was going to take everything in their power just to get to where it was that they were eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to believe that too because their postseason was not that different from their regular season. The previous season, they were 24 games over 500. This season, 6 over. That's a pretty big difference there. So they were flirting with mediocrity in the entire season. In the postseason, you saw some of that. The turnovers, the shoddy defense at times, the poor shooting at times. I mean, and you look at all of those, you add all those things up, and yet, if Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole shoot decently against the Lakers, the Warriors are probably still playing. So you look at the way it turned out, and it wasn't surprising. I mean, I never bought into this team being a championship team because they never really got together a period of time. You say, okay, that looks like a championship team right there. Never happened. They had some good games, some bad games. Beating Boston at home was a huge win. Beating Milwaukee, they had some big ones. But it's tough to consider a team a championship team when they get swept by the Magic. Swept by the Pistons, swept by the Pacers, So it's tough to look at it that way, but they do have a championship core. But there were just too many holes over the course of the season and too many times where the performance just didn't match the talent.
Monty, there's been a ton of talk in the days following this playoff exit of change and what the Warriors can do different next year. In your eyes, what is the most appealing change that the Warriors can make to gear up and go at it one more time with this core group of Steph, Draymond, and Klay? What can they do to retool this group?
Well, the first thing they have to do is get Draymond and Jordan Poole on the same page. Jordan saying that they're teammates and it's a business relationship. That is not how the Warriors operated during their best years. They were tired than just business relationships. They were a group that relied on their culture. And Draymond fractured that when he hit Jordan. He knows it. Everybody knows that. And it fractured even more when it went public. So I think it's up to Draymond to try and make it right and do what he can during the offseason so that he and Jordan can return to being more than just teammates, just guys on the same team. Because the Warriors, unless they are able to recapture that culture that they built, started building 9 years ago, I just don't see them winning games that they could win. I mean, I think that was conspicuous on the road where they went 11-30. Tight teams go on the road and they do dangerous things to their opponents. And the Warriors, when they were at their best, that's what they did. But the road record to me was a huge indicator that this team wasn't the same when they went on the road. I mean, because at that point on the road, you're forced to be together. After games, you're in the locker room, you go on the bus, you go to the hotel. At home, you separate. It's different. So when they were together, they didn't thrive. And a lot of that goes back to Draymond and Jordan. And so think about this. If you're James Wiseman or Jonathan Kuminga or Moses Moody or Patrick Baldwin Jr., and you see what Draymond did, and you've been told that he's a leader, you're kind of going, wait a minute, is this what NBA leadership looks like? And so you're asking yourself some serious questions. And Draymond admitted, by doing that, he compromised his ability to lead. Absolutely did. And so, but I think he has to extend as far as he can the olive branch to get this thing back to where it needs to be for this team to be successful. Because as long as this is going to be lingering over this team, I don't care what else they do, they're going to have trouble because Jordan is too important to this team right now. And if he's going to be as bad as he was this year, and again, at times he was good, at times he was bad. He was really an EKG. I mean, there were
drop
times
off from
he was
last
like,
year. It was a big fall.
Yeah, he was phenomenal in some games, and he was abysmal in other games. So, but that's the first thing they have to do. Beyond that, I know the big conversations are they need to add size, and their response was, well, when we won the championship, last year, people said the same thing, which is true.
Yep.
But they do need to add another shooter or two, because the Warriors, as the league has changed in recent years, the Warriors have kind of stayed the same, because you can do that when you have Steph and Clay. Most teams in the NBA now are playing 4 and 5 out, with shooters. And the Warriors are going out there with 2 non-shooters in Draymond and Loon. And so trying to win that way in today's NBA is tough. You got to play really, really great defense on a consistent basis, and your shooters have to be on it. And Clay, during the regular season, Clay was pretty good, slightly below his norm. But in the postseason, he fell off a cliff. And Jordan was below his previous year, last year, in terms of shooting. So the things that you need, Wiggins missed out the year. So the things that you need to make a lineup work with 2 non-shooters weren't always there. And then the bench was up and down. Some games great, some games not great. So there's a lot to put together. But the size thing, I think, that's a factor. Wiseman obviously wasn't the answer. But I think they could still use that. But I think shooting is more of a pressing issue as for this team right now, just having another shooter or two available to hit shots.
Talking to Monty Poole on the Uma Guest Line, covers the Warriors for NBC Sports Bay Area. You talked about Jordan Poole and Draymond, sort of Draymond reaching out to him and extending the olive branch, because it was his incident, obviously, that spun this thing a little bit. It also has to come from Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole's got to be willing to accept that Draymond is reaching out for that. You've been around teams for a long time, and I wonder, the dynamics of teams have always fascinated me. When I was a kid, I used to wonder, do you think those guys hang out? Like, do you think they're cool? Like, do they kick it in the locker room, or are they just teammates? Is it a business relationship? I would almost rather have a guy on my team say that he doesn't like the other guy, but we're just going to make it work, and use that sort of like positive, the negative tension to build something positive, rather than have a wedge between you where you go, there's a wall up. It's a business associate. How do these things play themselves out? What are the dynamics there?
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think there are instances when you can win despite that.
Sure.
But that's never been the Warriors' way.
Right. Yep.
When they had even in 2019 when Kevin Durant decided he was kind of be on an island, and I think they had enough experience on that team to where the veterans could withstand that. It's different when Jordan Poole's 23 years old, and half the team is 25 and under. So it's a different dynamic than what they had 4 years ago, when you've got Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala. You got a bunch of guys in their late 20s, late 30s. It's a different. They've seen it so many things to where that's not going to faze them as much as it will faze the young guys who are looking for leadership, who need leadership. And when I say young guys for the Warriors, they're not just young guys they're like, they drafted 5 teenagers in the last 2 drafts. So, or last 3 drafts, actually, going back to Wiseman.
Yeah, right.
So when you draft like that, you're obviously drafting for 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And those guys come into the NBA wide-eyed, expecting certain things, because if you're a lottery pick, you think you're going to play because you're special. You've got potential to be an all-star. Hey, I'm in the league now. And to deal with that immediately, so quickly, it's jarring. And I think that's where you have to go ahead and fix that. But I just think that on the whole, for this team to thrive, they have to try and find, sort of rediscover what made them great. Besides, obviously, the talent has been there, but what made them special was their chemistry, their culture, and that was compromised deeply.
Yeah, no doubt, and a lot of work to do for the Warriors to try to recapture that, Monty, and a lot has been made in the last few days about Bob Myers, his future. I'd love your thoughts on that, but also I wonder, how much longer do you see Steve Kerr doing this? Because we know he dealt with physical issues in his past, and NBA coaches are not, as we've seen with Doc Rivers, with Monty Poole, the job security does not exist the way it once did. How much longer do you see Steve Kerr wanting to give this a go?
Well, I mean, there have been a couple of occasions in the past couple of years when I, kind of pulled Steve to the side and asked him that in so many words. And he's been pretty consistent in saying, no, he wants to keep going. He wants to keep going. Physically, he's in much better place than he was a few years ago, when he couldn't even think about playing golf, and now he can play golf. So physically, he's in a better place. I think there are a couple of keys here. He is really close with Bob Myers, and if Bob decides not to come back, and from what I understand from everybody I've talked to, it's more Bob's decision than Joe's not being receptive to his return. If Bob decides not to come back, that's a big blow. And Steve will not like that. Neither will Steph. Neither will Draymond. None of the veterans they all want Bob back. And so, but then Steve has to figure out, he has one more year on his contract. What does he want to do beyond that? He was asked about that yesterday and basically said that, that ain't the priority right now. Bob is the priority because Bob's contract is up at the end of next month. So, but I think Steve, if Bob leaves, I think Steve will consider maybe not sticking around for a whole lot longer if Bob leaves. And if Bob stays, I think Steve would like to think, okay, Bob is going to be here for a few more years. I'm good for a few more years. Steph's good for a few more years, and I think he would ride that until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have to walk away from Steph Curry, why would you, KD?
Exactly.
I don't know why anybody would do that. Monty, before we let you go, man, it's interesting thinking about what would happen if Bob Myers came back and if there would be like a sort of a ticking clock on that, right? Because I think if Bob were to come back, I think the assumption for all of us is that this is kind of the last hurrah. That he's here to do it with Steph and Draymond and Clay and keep that thing together and let it keep rolling. Well, they had a backup plan for that whole dynasty, which was James Wiseman and Poole and Kuminga. I don't think Bob Myers would say, well, I'm going all in and I don't care what happens after I get out of here. But it does sort of change the scope and the mindset about how you go about building that team to win that year versus for sustained success.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at Bob's situation, you look at first of all, you look at the roster, and nobody's signed beyond next year among the three guys other than Steph. Steph has the longest term contract. The other guys are all, Draymond can opt out this year. Clay can be a free agent next year. And so it becomes a deal where Bob has to look at this if he decides to come back, it doesn't make sense to come back for one more year. If he comes back for 2 more years, 3 more years, that would be something that would fit what Steve would like and what Steph would like, because that means he's still going to be with Steph. And I think they would prefer that. So, but I just think that when you look at the idea of this year and what they tried to do and thread that needle, I mean, it just doesn't happen where you have a veteran core and then you bring in a bunch of guys that you drafted as teenagers and now they're 20, 21 years old. Okay, it's going to work. You look at the numbers of NBA history, it doesn't work that way. I mean, when you're that young, no matter how talented you are, you're not ready to be a star yet. And you're not ready to be an important part of a championship contender. I mean, you look at Kobe when he was 20. The Lakers, they were bounced in the first round, and when he was 20. You look at Joel Embiid. When he was 20, he was still 2 years away from his NBA debut. Giannis, when he was 20. All these guys, when they were 20 years old, their teams did nothing spectacular. And so they were able to learn that way, and they played big minutes, but their teams weren't going anywhere. The Warriors are looking at Steph, Clay, and Draymond and saying, we still have a chance to win championships. And so it's a different deal for those guys coming in at that age because they're not ready to contribute at that level, which is why you saw so much of guys like Jeremy Lamb and Ty Jerome.
And before we let you go, Monty, it's all going to get worked out with Bob before anything else happens? Is that the expectation, that he's first and then we go from there?
Yeah. I mean, the hope is that he does come back, but it's up to him. I told him that he had to come back, and he laughed. It'll be his call, obviously. I don't think it'll be an easy decision because he's from the Bay Area. He's grew up a Warriors fan, still lives in the Bay. His folks live in the East Bay. So it'll be a tough decision, but I think the money will be right. I think for Bob, it's going to be a matter of the other things that matter, just the other conditions that he needs to have met before he decides he'll do it for another couple of years.
Well, Monty, I always appreciate the time, man. Fun catching up. It's too bad we're not talking more Warrior basketball like in season, but I'm glad you're going to get to some of your year-old hobbies, dude. That pick up some old trades you used to have, man.
There you go. Do some things that I said I'm going to do a year ago.
All right, man. Record the saxophone or whatever you play, whatever you learn, dude. We'll talk to you later, Monty.
All right, guys.
All right,
have a good one.
There from Monty Poole. What to you stands out as the biggest thing that you're like, damn, this is crazy. This could happen. It's got to be Bob, right? Because if Bob's gone, there's dominoes that are falling that maybe we didn't even anticipate. The Jordan Poole thing is getting funky. Jonathan Kuminga's like, yeah, I thought I was going to play more minutes.
Also, then Joe Lacob's going to be interviewing a bunch of people with a bunch of wild ideas. Like a bunch of wild ideas are going to enter Joe Lacob's mind, and then this whole thing could be thrown off the tracks.
I'm for it. If they're not going to win titles, at least make it a good storyline. How about this storyline? Giants sweep the defending National League champions in the Philadelphia Phillies, and they do it with Casey Schmidt making great plays at third. I just saw Graham Brisbee tweet out from The Athletic, like, in 2007, you used to be hyped, or 01, you'd be like, where's Bonds? Is Bonds coming up? Is Bonds coming up? Now you're like rooting for other teams to hit slow choppers to third base. So Casey Schmidt can lay out and make a nice play. We'll talk to Susan Slusser about it. She covers the Giants for the Chronicle. She will stop by the bunker here at Oracle Park, where myself and Kerry Crowley are streaming live, KNBR.com and the KNBR app, as well as on YouTube. I should let you know, by the way, that Tolbert & Copes is sponsored by Redwood Credit Union. Start earning cash back on your everyday spending with a Redwood Credit Union free checking account. There's no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and your debit card earns cash back, travel, and more. Get started at redwoodcu.org/free checking. Federally insured by the NCUA. Giants over the Phillies 7-4. Ross Stripling, a back injury, could land on the IL. It looks like Kyle Harrison's going to need more time. And you were talking about who's the other kid? Wisenhunt.
Yeah, Carson Wisenhunt. End of the season, get this guy up here. Second-round draft pick from 2022. This guy's changeup is electric.
Luis Matos got brought up to AAA yesterday, was promoted. So for everybody saying, we're waiting for these where are these prospects, Farhan? Where are they? He drafted 2020. And your first draft, as you say, is not really your first draft because you have everybody else's scouts. 2020, he makes his first draft. You might have 5 guys out of that draft getting to the bigs within the next year and a half. So that's pretty impressive. We'll talk to Susan about that next. Tolbert & Copes with Kerry Crowley, only here on the Sports Leader. The Giants completed the sweep of the Philadelphia Phillies with a 7-4 win. Did it all on singles, 11 singles for the Giants. They're back in action on Friday. Check out more on that story trending on the all-new KNBR app.
Listen to the sports leader anywhere, anytime. Download the all-new KNBR app. Now, Tolbert and Copes continue live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Studio. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Swings, line drive into center field. Coming in is Marsh. He can't get there. Base hit. Haniger crosses the plate with the go-ahead run. Bart, who had to hold up to make sure that it wasn't caught, goes to third. And the Giants are back ahead for the first time in a while. Their first run since the first inning.
Giants win 7-4 today, complete the 3-game sweep of the Philadelphia Phillies. The only time the Phillies come to town. I imagine Gabe Kapler likes beating up on the Phillies. Not tons of guys that are there that were like. How many guys are there from when he was there? I guess was Bryce there? Bryce got there when he was there?
Bryce was definitely there the first year. Yeah, 2019. Gabe Kapler let go after that season. They fall apart in September, so he signs in 2020. Yeah, he loves
There's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that were there when Gabe was there. Yeah. And I remember when he went over there in 2020, and it was in 2021, and Gosman was taking the field, and I guess they were booing Gabe as he took the field.
Yeah.
Gosman, I think, went out and shoved, and I think it meant a little something. Afterwards, there was some extra juice there, because I really didn't even think about it. Gosman said he was so mellow on the mound. A little bit different mentality than from a guy like Camilo Doval, who... I remember somebody had coined the phrase at one point with Rob Nen years ago. He's like the most exciting 3 outs in baseball because it was somebody got on first base. Nen was a stress ball, dude. Like, he would be out there if a guy got on first and he's doing the toe tap and he couldn't hold guys on. He never picked off to first. So if there was speed and it was a 1-run game, things could get a little bit dicey. Doval things get dicey just because. Like, it seems like every time out there, throws flames, has got nasty, wicked stuff, and he seems that he is harnessed more than he's kind of just a thrower. He's not Nuke Lelouch, right? Like, he's not hitting the bull, though he will on occasion. He'll get a hair up his A, and he'll I don't know, he'll fall behind hitters. He'll drill a guy.
He'll drill Josh Harrison.
To put a go-ahead run, or to put the go-ahead run at the plate.
Let's bring up Trey Turner.
Hits a guy in the back of his leg with a pitch. So Camilo Doval has definitely had his struggles. I think he's honing in on the spot. Seemed fired up when he got that strikeout of Turner. Yes, he gets the save and the win back-to-back days. And completes the sweep, but he gets the swinging strike. He did a little hop step, like he had a little dance. Then he turned to the Phillies dugout and double slapped his chest. Like that's for USO.
I mean, he also saved all 3 games in this series. First Giants pitcher to save all 3 games in a series since Sergio Romo 2013. First Giants pitcher to do it 3 calendar days in a row since Will Smith 2018. So we're talking. I mean, Camilo's arm's going to fall off by June, but it's a heck of a run that he's on right now. 8 saves in 16 days.
That's pretty impressive. The bullpen is definitely righted for this series. My concern still is the strength and ability of the bullpen with the starting rotation to get through the season. I think the starters are better than they were last year. Cobb is a true ace. Webb is a true ace. DeSclafani is as good as he was, maybe throwing even better than he did when he was a potential. I think he had snubbed from the All-Star game in 2021. I think he had 10 or 11 wins.
He really was, when you look at that. They took like 10 starting pitchers. He was the 11th best pitcher in the National League at that point.
And then somebody else been hurt or not gone.
It was like Herman Marquez had to make it for the Colorado Rockies, robbing DeSclafani of an All-Star.
There should be a rule that the Rockies, I know everybody gets one All-Star every year no matter what, the Rockies should never they should never be allowed to have a pitcher be the All-Star. Because I will never, ever, ever believe that a pitcher who is like the lone all-star for the Rockies, meaning they were a crap team, he's got like an ERA of 3.8 or something, he's like their one. I'll never buy that guy was better than DeSclafani was in 2021.
That may have also been the year where Herman Marquez has tormented the Giants through the years, but I think 2021, they put up like an 8 spot on him in the first inning at Coors Field. They beat him up at Oracle Park. Yeah, they had their way with a lot of pitchers in 2021, but Herman Marquez was a guy they finally got to that year.
Yeah, he'd been tough on the Giants. Anyway, DeSclafani is pitching. I mean, you get 3 guys like that, and I know I don't know if I want to see it. He's going to have to pitch well against the Dodgers. That's something that he has not done well in his time as a Giant and in his career. I mean, he was sort of the outlier that would get knocked around. I don't know what Alex Wood's future holds for the
5 and dive. You just hope that he can get through the lineup 2 times, 5th inning. Yeah, you're hoping for 5. You're legitimately hoping for 15 outs.
He's doing, but no, I know I'm hoping for 15. What we're getting is like 7.
You're getting, you know what I mean? Like, you're getting 9 to 12.
Yeah, so this is a guy you brought back, and I know that these are all depth pieces. Junis is not throwing the way that he was, and he was stretched out earlier in the season.
He did have the nice slider today.
Had a clean inning today in the 1 inning he pitched in relief. 13 total pitchers in the game. The Giants used a lot of their bullpen as Stripling went 3 1/3 and left early. But if he lands on the IL, and it's your experience, backs usually do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he lands on the IL.
Backs and poor performance. Like, it's one thing if you're rolling and the team's like, hey, he might have to miss a start, we might have to push him back a day. Yeah, if Ross Stripling can't go 4 days from now, the Giants they're not going to mess around.
They're willing to take the break and say, let's reapproach this when you're healthy in a couple of weeks and not try to get right while you're banged up. The issues we have here are both of these guys are here beyond this year, right? Mm-hmm. They both got opt-ins.
Well, you can opt in, yeah.
And with the way things are going, both
right now it is a very obvious choice to take the money.
Yeah, they're both got ERAs. He and Sean Manaea, who we're talking, over 7 right now. I don't know if and when at some point we're going to get more minor leaguers coming up. I anticipate we will, based on all the movement that has happened, like in the last week. Luis Matos gets promoted to AAA. Somebody else just got moved up, I saw, to AA.
Wade Meckler.
Wade Meckler. Hitting .460 in 20 games in Eugene.
You know, the guy was a walk-on in college, Oregon State. He had to walk-on, earn his place on the roster, 8th-round draft pick of the Giants a few years ago, and man, Wade Meckler, hitting close to 500 high A.
Wade Meckler, nice beaver, is what we'd say. Anyway, Wade Meckler, there's all these guys that are kind of brimming down there that may be able to make an impact. Now, I don't anticipate anybody comes up and does, for the emotion of the team, what Casey Schmidt has done. I do anticipate a pitcher. Pitchers are different in how they impact the team because, yes, a bat like Buster coming up or a bat like Casey Schmidt, and they can carry a lineup for a minute. And really, that's what he's done. He's driving in runs with runners in scoring position, keeping rallies going, things that weren't happening at the start of the year. When a pitcher comes up, he helps you in ways that aren't necessarily inspirational. He does it in ways that are resting ways, where when a starter can come up and every few days can give you 5 or 6 or 7, and your 5 before that was giving you 3 1/3 or 4 or 5 innings, and he's giving you 6, 7. You do wonders for the back end of that bullpen. It takes pressure off of the front end as well.
Which is my case to bring up Kyle Harrison right now, because that development can happen in the major leagues. If Kyle Harrison's command still needs work, guess what? Sean Manaea's command needs a lot of work right now. Ross Stripling, pre-injury today, his command was terrible. He was firing the ball right over the plate. So my case for bringing up Kyle Harrison is, hey, if he can give you 9 to 12 outs, if you don't want to stretch him out, it's not like you're getting 15 to 18 from Ross Stripling. It's not like you're counting on Sean Manaea to give you 3 or 4 innings every time out. Kyle Harrison, there's a legit chance that he could give you 12 outs. There's a legit chance he can get you almost halfway through the bullpen, and he's going to be better than those guys right now. So I know that the Giants want to slow play him. They don't want to start the clock yet. They want to make sure that his arm is in good condition so that he can help this club in the second half of the season. I'm not saying bring him up and immediately unleash him and have him go 6 or 7 innings. I'm saying the quality of innings that he is going to give you right now is going to be so much better than what you've gotten from the veteran pitchers. So I think with the opportunity the Giants now have, Ross Stripling potentially going on the injured list, it's time to take a look. It really is.
Well, we should point out here that he's not making starts like that in AAA anyway, where he's going 6, 7 innings. They're not stretching him out that way.
And that's purposeful. That's a plan.
Right. Yeah, of course. You want to, I mean, it's the old, who was it? Strasburg thing.
Yeah.
When Strasburg, the first year the Nationals finally when he has a healthy season, I think he was coming off Tommy John, they finally get to the playoffs with him.
They shut him down in September.
They shut him down. And I prayed forever. I was like, I hope the Nats don't. I hope they have a longer than a Cubs drought.
Yeah.
Just to slap the, we'll save him for the next time we go for a world championship. You may never have another shot. You may never have another opportunity to do this again. And then, sure enough, he did. And I don't think we've seen him since, basically. Yeah. One outing. Kyle Harrison, 8 starts in AAA this year. His longest outing was his 7th start against the Vegas Aviators back on May 6th. He went 4 innings, 1 hit, 7 Ks.
Is that worse than what you're getting from Ross Stripling or Sean Manaea?
That is better than what you're getting from Ross Stripling and Sean Manaea.
12 outs right there.
12 outs.
Yeah.
He's gotten 14 outs at one point. He went 3 1/3, I guess. 14 at bats against him. He has, homer-wise, not allowed a home run in AAA.
Which is really, really hard to do. The PCL is a hitter's paradise.
You got Vegas, you got the Heat in Sacramento.
Yeah, remember Mike Yastrzemski when he came up in 2019? It was like May 20th when he came up. He'd already had like 14 bombs for the River Cats. Guys just feast on AAA pitching. The fact that he's keeping the ball in the ballpark tells you that he's very close to Major League ready.
Yeah, Todd Linden hit like 30 in a year.
Brett Pill.
We're like, damn, what happened to these guys, man? These guys can't hit the way we thought, at least in this ballpark. Yeah, talk about the drastic jump from like hitting in the Las Vegas Aviators ballpark.
The Albuquerque Isotopes?
There you go, dude. Yeah. The Isotopes. What to you, in all the years you covered the team, what element?
All the years. You make me sound like I'm...
Dude, you covered them from Bochy to where we are now with Farhan, which is actually
7 years now.
That's a significant chunk of time. Yeah. You are washed.
I'm washed.
So you're filling in now instead of doing the full-time gig. We just get you back for momentary things. The time that you were here, obviously the reason I bring this up is the game of baseball changed while you covered the Giants.
Yeah.
The evolution of specifically the Giants, because the game changed around the Giants while they were in the midst of their 3 World Series runs. Then they come up for air in 2016, and the league has changed. Like, the world in baseball is a completely different planet than it was the last time they were successful. And then they were behind. Then they didn't have the farm. They didn't have the talent. They couldn't keep up competition-wise with teams like the Rays, who are built, for 162, but also to compete year after year in the postseason. They had not built for the future. They were still doing the veteran buy-into Andrew McCutchen, who, by the way, who's found the fountain of youth in Pittsburgh. Is a great
you know what?
leader for them.
Andrew McCutchen, Brian Reynolds, what a trade that was.
What a trade that was.
Is that the Pierzynski trade all over again?
That one is probably worse than the AJ.
No, because Liriano, Joe Nathan
is what hurts you. Liriano didn't end up. Did he make an All-Star team? I mean, he had a couple
Francisco
of really.
Liriano pitched for like 19 seasons.
He had a really long, good career. The point is that when a guy does that, I never anticipated he was going to be here all that time anyway.
Yeah,
right. So
that's fair.
So I look at that and I go, AJ Pierzynski for Boof Bonzer, Liriano, and Joe Nathan. The Nathan one hurt the most because the Giants were in a much worse spot than they thought they would have been at their closer position when Rob Nen never pitched again after 2002. You get 43 saves or something out of Tim Worrell, not Todd Worrell. That was his brother.
Tim Worrell.
And then they didn't have. Then they were like Hergis and Hermanson and Wade and Franklin, and then you got Steve Finley in the Grand Slam at Dodger Stadium. If you have a closer, if Joe Nathan's here, you're in a different spot, and you're probably not getting eliminated on a Sunday morning after the Grand Slam Friday night.
So it's basically the modern day. 15 years later, it is the trade that haunts the Giants because you trade Brian Reynolds, who's your prized prospect. He was akin to their first-round draft pick because he was their first overall pick. They gave it up to sign Jeff Samardzija, who wouldn't? 5 years, $90 million, identical contract to Logan Webb. But they go and they trade Brian Reynolds, who has since made all-star teams, signed a $100 million contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
He got a batting title, too.
At least come close to it. At least come close to it.
Switch hitter, too?
Yeah, switch hitter.
Switch hitting
Dynamic center fielder. Yeah, imagine him in the same lineup as Casey Schmidt and then the other players that the Giants are whisking along here.
I look at that guy and I go, and clearly he just wanted the money. He just wanted to get paid because he was saying he wanted out, and I thought maybe this guy really is like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in Pittsburgh. I want to go compete and play somewhere else. Now, he was good to be there, and they've started to build something there. McCutchen coming back, cool to have that veteran. He got his number back, too. He's wearing 22. Yeah. They won again today. Pirates have been fun to watch. I would say that one is worse for me. And I know the Nathan one hurt for a long time because they were without a closer until they got Brian Wilson. The issue for me is that center fielders like that are playing every single day.
Yeah.
They have still not produced an outfielder.
Chili Davis, last homegrown All-Star in the outfield.
That's what I'm saying.
1984?
I don't know. Sure. Yeah. I don't know. Does it matter at this point?
You're the guy, yeah.
I don't know. Does it matter? I mean, like that's the frustration here is you would have still had that guy every single day for all the time that we're going, I don't know who's in the lineup. I'm bored of this. I know Crawford's out there, but nobody else. You would have had Crawford and Reynolds every single day.
And now you've got Casey Schmidt for what could be the next 10 seasons. Seriously.
It's pretty exciting, man.
It's 1 week of games, but all you have to do is show up to the ballpark and see how special this guy is. You can see physically he's different. The spark, the energy. He actually looks like the players who come to Oracle Park and historically haunt the Giants, the guys who make this ballpark look small, the guys who look like they have so much power that they're a threat to hit it out every time.
It's like he's here on accident. He's supposed to be playing against us.
Yeah, this guy's supposed to come to town like 7-8 times a season with another National League West team and just do his damage. This guy's supposed to get paid to do what he's doing against the Giants. And finally, the Giants have a guy who looks like this. He looks different. He looks like he can make the difference. And it's so fun. And it's what these fans have been waiting for.
He's a talent that we have that I can't even think of a talent that has come up out of the minor leagues and immediately had all of these tools. Like, he's way faster than we thought. I saw a note last week that he was running to first at like 29.5 feet per second.
30's elite.
That's quite. I was like, I don't even know what that means. Then I saw that 30 was elite, and I went, oh, so he's a plus runner.
Yeah,
he's got better speed than we thought. Maybe it's a long stride, whatever it is. He's a better runner than we thought. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's got an incredible glove. He can hit, and he can hit for power. Show me what tool he doesn't have.
Yeah,
I said, and I've said numerous times this year, Tyro is the best player on the team. Talent-wise, raw talent. He can do things that a lot of other guys can't. His athletic ability was probably better than anybody else out there. It's no question now that it's Casey Schmidt.
Yeah.
He's got more tools than Tyro has, and now you've got two players you look at and you go, those guys are toolsy. How many more of those things can you get? You want guys with two that you can build a third for, and if you got a couple that have 3 or 4, or 5, then you're in business.
Lamont's getting close. He's got some tools that you can work with. Lamont, I think the glove is getting there defensively at first base.
The glove's pretty good. And he told Tom, and it's the first time he spent an offseason working out at first base.
And it has showed this year. Yeah. He looks so much more comfortable there, and the plate discipline is off the charts. He is the prototypical 2023 leadoff hitter. It's 3-2 every time he comes to the plate. And it's not like a Brandon Belt 3-2. It is an incredible, this guy has worked his way to this. He's fought off the right pitches. He's seeing 8-9 pitches every time that he comes up. So fun to watch right now.
Yeah, it's a blast. And again, if you were out here today, you saw him get a standing ovation, dude. And he made a diving play at third base, threw it across the diamond, fastest throw of any player on an MLB diamond in 2023, and the fastest ever by a Giant ever since 2018. On the other side, Susan Slusser going to stop by. It's Tolbert and Copes, Kerry Crowley hanging out with me here in the bunker at Oracle Park. Yeah, game ended hours ago. We're still hanging out. We'll be here with you until 6 o'clock. Susan going to stop by the bunker, talk a little bit about this Giants farm system as all eyes on and here she is. Here comes Susan Slusser. We'll take a quick break. We'll talk to her next. Tolbert and Copes, Kerry Crowley hanging out. Giants sweep the Phillies on the Sports Leader. Draymond Green joined Stephen A. Smith on ESPN and said the Warriors would still be playing if not for him punching Jordan. Okay, man. Check out more on that story trending on the all-new KNBR app.
Number one, who cares?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Adam Copeland here for O'Donnell Financial Group. Whether you're retired or you're planning on being retired, wouldn't you want to know whether you were paying too much in fees or taking too much risk, or even if you were going to be able to live the lifestyle that you've always envisioned in retirement? Well, for more than 3 decades, Greg O'Donnell has been helping people just like you right here in the Bay Area plan, protect, and pass on their wealth to their loved ones. If you're interested in learning how O'Donnell Financial Group can help you and your family, give them a call. He and his team are great, easy to talk to, and they'll answer all your questions, and they've got a no-cost, no-obligation consultation. Call them today, 866-496-2300, or visit o'donnellfinancialgroup.com. That's 866-496-2300, because planning is a process, not a product. Investment advice offered through O'Donnell Financial Services, LLC, a registered investment advisor, registered representative offering securities and advisory services through Independent Financial Group, LLC.
Hey, Giants fans, can you feel the beat? With the Chronicles Giants beat writer Susan Slusser on KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
We do it every week. Wednesdays, when the Giants are at home, we do it from the bunker. Adam Copeland, Kerry Crowley with you from the bunker at Oracle Park. If you've been wondering what the bunker looks like, you can check it out. KNBR app, KNBR.com. And you can check out Susan Slusser, who joins us here in the bunker. And she's on camera, too. What's going on, Susan? How are you?
Hey, this is so fun.
Look at this.
Yeah, I really, with the two of you right here, I really want the, rapid fire.
Crossfire?
Yeah,
crossfire
just
questions.
hammer me, yeah.
How long is stripling out? Go. What's the diagnosis? How severe? Give me the grade of the strain.
He's getting him an MRI right now.
Tough deal. So he's like behind a wall over there, just they're taking pictures of the back or something. Tough.
Exactly.
Tough deals. Kerry said, pitchers, you get a back injury like that, and you have an ERA of 7, usually means injured list.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Just to make sure.
Yeah, just to make sure. But that was the best he'd pitched all year, the first 3 innings. And then he looked a little off. Mound visit, and Bailey just went out to check in with him. I said, did you see something while he was pitching that made you think that? And he was like, no, just a regular mound visit. And then Stripling said, yeah, got a little back thing. So, yeah.
So he doesn't go deep into the game, but the last 2 games may be the best back-to-back games the Giants bullpen have had all season.
Really? All 3 games.
Yeah,
they were
that's
great.
true.
Yeah, because they had to go 4 2/3 the first game.
Yeah.
So it was 15 2/3 in the series, and they gave up 3 runs. 20 strikeouts, 4 walks.
3 saves by Camilo Doval.
Yeah, Camilo, man. And
His arm's going to fall off, right?
He said he feels great. That's the first thing I asked. How's your arm feel? And he said he had just gotten done lifting. He was like, yeah. And I just went to take care of it.
Wait, he went and lifted right after the game?
Yeah.
He threw and then he's like, I got to get my arm straight back.
3 days in a row. Yeah.
It's like, you just played a pro sport. You don't have to go hit the gym right. No, off day tomorrow. And he's like, getting right. That's what I like to hear. I like my guys getting their work in.
You think, too, when the bases are loaded, you're like, man, maybe it was a little bit of a push 3 days in a row. He did it 3 times last year, 3 days in a row.
Velocity was all there.
Yeah, velocity's there. And, he comes through against Trey Turner, not the easiest guy to have to face in that situation.
To strike out, sure. Yeah, it was impressive for the bullpen, definitely. I'm wondering about Stripling, if you noticed this, and they were talking, I heard on the broadcast today, about more guys around the league are doing it, holding the pitch clock, where the hitters will come set for the 8 seconds, which I always felt like was a long time, but almost never, at least for the first month and a half, we saw them have to wait 8 seconds to get through. Ross Stripling did it a couple times today where he held. I know he got called for automatic ball in each of the first 2 innings, but I've seen this now and watching other games. More and more guys are messing with the clock to throw off hitter timing.
There was a lot of talk during spring training that guys were going to try to do that, and I think they were the first month they were so wrapped up with just getting used to the clock and making sure that they didn't do an inadvertent pitch violation. I mean, you never want the pitch clock violation, period. But I think they weren't comfortable enough yet to really mess with it. Plus, they don't want to get called for the, whatever it was that they decided was going to be sort of an intentional kind of delay, which has not yet come to pass that they've legislated that. But, if they keep messing with it enough, I think it will be. Yeah. Because a lot of the hitters feel like the pitch clock already benefits the pitchers more than it does.
I think pitching benefits the pitchers, and the pitch clock helps that. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that if there's some intentional delays to mess up hitters, I think there's probably going to be it'll be addressed at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at where the Giants are now, 20-23, a quarter of the way through the season. I know that this is the customary point where we start judging the body of work. You say, okay, the sample size isn't...
I thought we started on opening day.
Exactly, yeah.
I thought we tried judging last offseason. It didn't go well.
Giants lost on opening day, and they were out for the year. But seriously, there's a ton of stories written about reaching the quarter mark of the season. You do big interviews with Farhan, Gabe Kapler about what you've learned thus far. From your vantage point, Susan, you've been with this team since the start of spring training, and obviously several years before that. What are the best case scenarios and what are the worst case scenarios in your mind moving forward?
The best case scenario is that they've got some key guys who have underperformed or not gotten sort of hit their stride yet. Mm-hmm. And when they do, they'll be fine because we know that the rotation should be fine. They've got so much depth. The top three guys have all been excellent. They've got other options, and maybe Kyle Harrison coming at some point. The bullpen is, I think maybe there's some cautious optimism that it's getting better. But, Haniger has yet to really take off. Conforto's just getting his feet under him. Yaz was looking the best he has in years when he got hurt. So, Peterson's out, and he hasn't quite been consistent yet with things. Wilmer Flores was having a very quiet month until today. That's pretty big. He's such a big part of what this team does. They were struggling with situational hitting, particularly runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Today, 6 of the runs score with 2 outs. A couple of bases loaded situations. A couple of times it looked like they might not quite get out of with any runs, but they did come through. And yesterday, a couple of 2-out RBIs. So I feel like we still don't really have a real handle on them. There's more. That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
But I felt that almost all of last year, and nothing ever panned out. So maybe I'm just like a little bit Pollyanna-ish, like I'm trying to see the glass half full.
That's how I live my life.
Yeah.
Quarter mile at a time?
What are you guys seeing something on the flip side that's reason to go like they have too much of this or too little of that to really make an extended run for contention?
What is the most correctable deficiency that you think they have? As we're talking to Susan Slusser, by the way, in the bunker here at Oracle Park, is it simply because to me they're going to strike out, but they also are a powerful team, and today they had 11 singles and no home runs, and
they still won
7 runs and won. So is it simply more arms? Because we were saying like a guy like Casey Schmidt changes the feeling around a team, changes the feeling in the clubhouse. It keeps rallies going like we saw in the first inning today. He makes great plays that ignite a team like he did at third base. When a player like Tim Lincecum comes up, or a great starting pitcher, it helps the rest of the team in a way that it buoys every other bullpen arm, every other starter. You don't need to put as much on those guys. So I wonder, like, if Kyle Harrison does come up, and we were looking at his game logs, hasn't pitched more than 4 innings at 8 starts in AAA. So that's what we would be looking at, sort of these piggyback starter roles.
Yep.
Is that something that, if you're just getting 3 innings out of a top prospect pitcher, is that enough to buoy everybody else, or are you're just doing what you did today with 2 of your starters that you bought this offseason?
Well, I talked to I don't want to scoop my own story, and it's not a huge thing, but I talked to Farhan Zaidi the other day a little bit about not how they're using Kyle Harrison, but all their starters at AAA are kind of going, about
route.
3 2/3, 4 innings, lower pitch counts, and I would think that you could say if they need any of those guys in the second half, they won't have to then worry about pitch
Stretching
limits and innings limits.
Gotcha.
So that would be potentially a good thing. But
Chestnut
right now
checkers,
he's not stretched out to really go, 5 consistently. But he could. That'd be pretty easy. You out on 15 pitches at a time, and
he's done it on low stress too.
Right.
He's not
right. Plenty of guys to piggyback with, and they get Luke Jackson back in less than 2 weeks.
That's the name. Is he in AAA for the rehab?
He's in AAA. He makes his first appearance tonight for them in Reno. And the bullpen's already looking like maybe they're feeling a little bit. Taylor Rogers looks like he's figured some things out. He says he hasn't changed anything, but I think if you look, that new cutter's kind of gone out the window. So that might be one thing. Maybe he's just feeling a little more comfortable with that, and just comfortable with a new team too. You got, even though your twin brothers here, you got a ton of new coaches and new faces, and you want to make a good impression, and it's a big deal and all of that. So I think he looks a lot better. I think things are setting up. I would have said like a week or 2 ago that bullpen is the one area where you could. I'm starting to think maybe, especially when they add Jackson, that they might be okay out there. Kyle Harrison could be an obvious something if they're looking for something in the rotation. But for me, the offense just hasn't been consistent enough, and it could just be as easy as Haniger getting hot, Yaz getting back to kind of where he was before he got hurt, something like that. But it just seems like they're a little bit not clicking. They had that
There's a few games there where it looked like everybody got healthy for like 4 days or something. And it looked like, boy, they're better than
the Cardinals came to town.
Okay, let's
let's be honest.
Easy.
They played a team off to its worst start.
If I can beat up on Arenado and Goldschmidt, I'm going to take the win. Okay, if that's how that's going down. Is Susan Slusser's with us here in the bunker?
Yeah, Susan. One of the things that I'm fascinated about with Casey Schmidt and how he changes the dynamic. Obviously, he's the spark. The fans adore him already. You can hear the cheers are louder. They're standing ovations from certain parts of the ballpark. How do they make sure that he plays every day? Because they've done it for 9 days thus far, but who is going to get left out here more often than not? Because right now, I think it's Brandon Crawford. And I don't know that Giants fans are quite ready to see Brandon Crawford left out as much.
Right now, it's probably Brandon Crawford certainly more often than J.D. Davis.
Yeah.
More often than Tyro Estrada. There's a reason for that performance.
Yeah.
And then Crawford's in the lineup today, and where's he batting? He's batting 8th.
But also taken out for defense in the 9th inning.
Yeah. So I think that is going to be probably an ongoing issue, unless, say, at the trade deadline, they decide they want to move some bodies and they kind of open up a full-time spot, say at third for Casey Schmidt. That might make things a little bit easier. But barring injury, I think we're going to see a lot more of what we've seen. Schmidt playing probably mostly at short, but getting a couple starts a week at third and maybe once a week at second, whatever.
Yeah.
Man, exciting stuff. And then the other guy who got moved up to AAA was Luis Matos. Is one of the top prospects we've heard about. He's kind of the name that was in there. Canario was the other one they traded for Chris Bryant a couple of years ago, who he's sort of shot through the Cubs system, hasn't he?
A couple of injuries, right?
Yeah, but he did pretty well in the first couple of seasons, of the first season and a half there. Anyway, I'm looking at Matos as maybe the next outfield guy that could be here. I try not to get too excited about outfielders I established last segment, Susan, before we got you on, that Brian Reynolds now the worst trade in Giants history. Yeah. He's got $100 million. He's making all-star teams. And Andrew McCutchen, by the way, McCutchen is playing opposite.
They got him for 8 months.
It's pretty fun. Anyway, in terms of Matos and some of these other guys, are we thinking that we're kind of getting to that sort of breakthrough point or that sort of transition where we're going to start seeing guys come up and maybe some of the holdover or stopgap players that people are frustrated or irritated by won't be these staples for as long as we thought?
They've got a really strong group of outfielders. Right. I mean, we've already, Luis Gonzalez comes up last year, has a good couple of months, then gets hurt and has had, obviously, injuries. I really like Bryce Johnson. The speed is absolutely elite. He's a switch hitter. Matos, I think, is coming soon. Von Brown looked great during the spring. Grant McCray. I mean, they've got guys. The one guy, of course, we're not mentioning is Hunter Bishop, who's had injuries, but Farhan says he still remains in their plans. Next year they thought about maybe when he comes back from surgery this year, sending him out to get some at-bats somewhere. I think they're just going to make sure he's healthy, but he apparently still in their plans next year. But they have a really, really nice group of outfielders. Elliot Ramos has been the one guy who's been hard to figure out, he seemed like he was ready to take the next step last year. Does okay for a couple games, sits, then gets sent back down, and he has just not been the same since. It's a weird one.
Yeah, that's why I love what they've done with Casey Schmidt. There was never hey, he's going to platoon, he's going to play, 3 games, then we'll sit him for a game to let someone else play. It's just let this kid ride. Yeah. And I love that approach.
He's made it easy on him.
Yeah,
he's
that's true. Maybe they would have done something different. But he was back in the lineup after the Arizona game when he was terrible on Sunday. And look what he did on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, it's platooning is not for everyone. It obviously wasn't for J.D. Davis when he had won finally an everyday job, which everybody's been saying we'd sure like to see what this guy could do playing every day. He's a good everyday player. Yeah, he's not a good platoon player. It's just it's one of those things. You either got it or you don't.
He talked about that when he got here, when he was with Houston. I think that year that he, I think it was the best year of his career before he went to New York. He said, I was getting consistent at bats. Then I went over there, got hurt, and lost my job, and that was it. Then you're just kind of spotting in and out, and it's tough. Then all the pressure's on you for the limited time. By the way, you said Taylor Rogers hasn't tried anything new except the glove, Susan. Since he trashed the glove on April 12th, 12 games for Taylor Rogers, 10 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 run.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes way more sense
we
than
laughed at that.
We the cutter that wasn't working.
Yeah, new glove, no cutter, and that'll do it. Opposing hitters are hitting 177 with a 445 OPS against him. Pretty sharp, pretty damn good for him. So.
Yeah. I remember the A's had a reliever named Jeff Tam who once, after a bad outing in which he'd made an error that compounded things, he took his glove into the shower, lit it on fire, and then I think he didn't give up a run the rest of the year.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it certainly had a very good rest of the year. So maybe there is something to this glove thing.
Yeah, your glove doesn't work. Set it on fire. And
Yeah,
it may have
trash
some
it or
effect.
set it on fire.
Yeah. Real quick, just because you mentioned the A's, this is totally random. I was watching Moneyball this morning, the movie. I was like looking for something to
As
do.
one does before a day game.
Threw it on the background. It was great. I got some good Greg Pop on there too, like in the background. What are they putting in the water in Oakland? He's like yelling that. As they're like showing them climb the standings right after they've like lost 17 of 21 early on. Or something
We're
like
with the expert. We can ask.
I don't know. But this is what I was going to ask was about. I remember when the trade of Carlos Pena happened.
Yeah.
And in the movie, it's such a shock. Like, if you weren't a baseball fan and you're watching this, you might not bat an eye or think, it plays more of a moment that he's trying to teach Peter Brand, Paul De Podesta, his character, how to tell a guy he's traded, how to get lost. But for me as a baseball guy, I'm like, dude, Carlos Pena was an elite talent. They lose Giambi. They're like, well, how are we going to replace Giambi? I was like, you have Carlos Pena. And he says, no, I want Scott Hatterberg because it's part of our OBP plan. So they trade Carlos Pena. I assume you were there. What was
I was there.
What was
I was there.
Can you remember that day? What was that?
Yeah, I mean, I love Carlos Pena, and I thought he was going to be a very good player. And
he's a great analyst.
Of course, he's a very good analyst. Yeah. He was a great player, too.
He's a good player.
I thought that was not a good deal. And I still am not. I mean, Scott Hatterberg was going to play probably anyway, so I'm not sure.
That's my boy, Scotty Hatterberg.
That was among, yes, who doesn't love Scott Hatterberg? But,
I love the guy.
But Moneyball, both the book and the movie, I've spent a lot of time talking about this, writing about this, blah, blah, Moneyball. But Scott Hatterberg and Chad Bradford were not the reasons the A's won that year.
Yeah,
they were nice pieces. But they had
Sang and the MVP on the team.
The big three. You have the big three. You got Eric Chavez, and you got Miguel Tejada, who was the AL MVP that year, and gets one mention in the book, and it's Miguel, air quotes, swings at everything. People can see me. Swings at everything.
You can do the quotes. You don't have to say air quotes, right?
Miguel Forever Giant Tejada.
Forever Giant
Some
Tejada.
people remember him.
Don't forget him walking off on opening night, man, or opening day with the gold number 10 on his back, dude. I was like, you weren't even on that World Series team, and you're going to walk off nuts for
incredible.
us. Anyway, I was watching that this morning, and I was like, I'm going to ask Susan today about that Carlos Pena trade. What was Billy's explanation for it? He's like, they're playing him over Hatterberg, and I want Hatterberg.
Yeah, I mean, that was basically
it.
I think they liked the return at the time. In retrospect, I would say it probably wasn't enough for somebody of Carlos Pena's ability. I think there were a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and they wanted a shake-up just in general, and some of it was moving other pieces.
Yeah. Enjoyable movie. I don't know how real it is, but it's enjoyable.
I'm going to ask a non-Moneyball question just because I do want to ask, and we did this off-air, off-camera. Blake Sabol, Rule 5 picks almost never hit. And the Giants have had a run of Rule 5 picks who don't stick around. He looks like someone who might be here for a while. Am I wrong in thinking that? Like, he could be a piece for the next 5-6 seasons?
I mean, you can never tell during spring, right?
Yeah.
Some guys just go off and then you never hear from them again. All spring, I thought, this guy looks like he might have a chance, but let's not get too excited. I mean, he's hit. He looks like he can hit big league pitching. Now, they're going to adjust him, but hey, look, he can bunt too. Yeah. He runs pretty well. He does everything pretty well. He's coming along in the catching spot. Gabe Kapler, almost always will mention when he's talking about catching, even if he's not asked about Sabol, he'll talk about the things he's done really well recently.
It's shocking to hear Gabe doing that.
Yeah. Well, it's been very specific. The only area he's really kind of struggled is with throwing from behind the plate, which is not the easiest. But Kapler was even mentioning today, hasn't really killed them. He's doing kind of a good enough job. So, I'm really impressed with him. And as you know, you've had him on the air.
If you haven't heard the interview, still go from when he came on with Tom and I. He's entertaining. He tells good stories. And his older brother was in the Mets system, so he tells a story of when they played the Mets this year. A bunch of the guys were coming up, and he was catching, saying, "Tell your brother I said hi." I believe he hit his first home run off of Lorenzen, Michael Lorenzen of the Tigers. And he and his brother, Lorenzen, and Sable's brother are real good friends. He said he used to come spend the night at our house when we were kids.
Yeah, Conforto was his roommate.
Yeah, that's right.
Conforto shows up in the spring and he's like, wait,
dude, your
little brother here.
Right.
What is happening?
It's so cool. So many former Mets here in this clubhouse,
that's
too.
True.
You got Wilmer Flores over here as well. So
he's personality plus. Well,
if
all these kids are great.
Yeah, good personalities in the clubhouse.
Really good.
Casey Schmidt's fitting in with them too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We keep hearing he's got kind of a goofy personality, fun, goofy personality. We haven't quite seen it yet, except for his first game. When he did that awkward little wave after the the highlight on the field, is kind of claps for himself a little bit and waves a little. Like, I don't know what to
He's
do.
like, yeah, I've been doing it my whole life. It's just the first time you guys have seen it. So, pretty good stuff. Susan, always fun when you stop by. Really cool to have Carrie with us today, too.
Thank you.
Maybe someday
loved-
Tom
I
will come
loved
by the
all
bunker.
this.
But
Yeah.
this is awesome. This is
Yeah.
great. And everybody gets to see what we do in the bunker. So you can check it out, KNBR.com, the KNBR app, and on YouTube and Twitch. Susan Slusser covers the Giants for the Chronicle. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, sounds good.
Good stuff. On the other side, are we talking to Matt Mayoko next? Is that his
I believe
coming up?
so.
We are. Matt Mayoko joins us next. Tolbert and Copes, Kerry Crowley with me in the bunker on the Sports Leader.
Listen to the Sports Leader anywhere, anytime. Download the all-new KNBR app. Now, Tolbert and Copes continue live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Studio. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Copes is sponsored by Allworth Financial. Get your investment questions answered at Allworth's free in-person workshop. Register at allworthfinancial.com. Adam Copeland, Kerry Crowley from the bunker at Oracle Park following a Giants victory, but switch gears to a little bit of football here as we did a little potpourri today on a Wednesday afternoon. Some basketball, some baseball, and now Matt Mayoko, courtesy of the UMA guest line, to talk some 49er football and schedule. What's up, Matt? How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Well,
I saw you were back east helping your daughter move out of her college dorm, whatever her living situation was. But were you at Fenway Park?
I was at Fenway Park on Monday night.
Nice.
Yes.
Anything special? What'd you get on Monday night?
What I get?
What'd you
I
see?
got
Who was
the,
any event? Any good performance from somebody? I love going to a random game in a random city when you're there and you get to see something cool.
Yeah, well, I think the old saying is every time you go to the ballpark, you see something you've never seen before. And about 7 innings into that game, I was thinking of that exact saying. And I was like, wow, I don't think I've seen anything new in this game until the 9th inning when the Red Sox were getting blown out and they put their shortstop into pitch. And his first pitch that he delivered was a 34-mile-an-hour quote-unquote fastball. What? And so that would be the one thing that I think I've never seen before.
The number 34 next to MPH at a baseball stadium. I have never seen that myself. I mean, that's that's an ephes. You'd have to throw with like a big rainbow arc on it. But
I did not know that it was possible. Just gravity. I did not know that gravity would allow for a 34-mile-an-hour pitch to cross the plate, but it did.
It's incredible.
It's very much slow pitch softball style.
Yeah, that's. But I just love it. It's cool when you get to see a random game. Like obviously going to Fenway Park is great, but just seeing a cool event or somebody achieve something would be cool at a random place. Do you have an accolade as a fan from before you were like I imagine with the Niners, you've been at all those games, you've seen all the great stuff, and you cover it. It's a different perspective on that stuff when you're close to it. But I know you're a Giants ticket holder, and you get out to see your Kings, of course. Do you have a favorite moment you've been in the building for that you weren't covering something?
Oh boy. Well, yeah. I mean, it's funny because I've been a fan and went to a lot of baseball games growing up, but I'd never seen a major league no hitter until what year was it? The years are going together. I guess it's 2013, was it, when Matt came through the perfect game?
Oh yeah, I was at that game.
And then I believe it was, I forget if it was that season or the next season. Might have been later that season. The 49ers were practicing in Youngstown, Ohio, between regular season games on the East Coast, and after one of the games or after one of the practices, we drove from Youngstown to Pittsburgh and saw Homer Bailey of the Reds throw a no-hitter against the Pirates. So I'd been in a no-hitter drought for my entire life. Haven't seen a no-hitter since, but saw two no-hitters in a relatively short period of time, one in San Francisco and one in Pittsburgh.
Incredible. So my first was Matt Cain's too, and then same thing. I saw two more like right after it. I was at Sean Manaya's randomly. Went to go see I wanted to go see Chris Sale pitch against the A's for the Red Sox. And Sean Manaea threw a no-hitter. And then Tim Lincecum, we were here for my mom's birthday. Tim Lincecum day game, his second no-no happened here in June. But yeah, it's incredible. I remember, by the way, when Tim Lincecum got his first major league hit. Here's a random one. It was a day in June in 2007. He got his first big league knock. Jonathan Sanchez came in relief, got his first big league hit, and a bullpen catcher, or backup catcher, Guillermo Rodriguez, I think, or Guillermo Quiros. Got his first big league hit. They had three guys with their first major league hit in the same game in June, and two of them were pitchers. I was like, that's a wild achievement. So enough of the fan accolades and merit badges. We're talking to Matt Mayoko here on the UMA guest line. I guess we haven't talked to you really since the schedule came out. We've got our plans for the next several months, Matt. What stands out to you for the 49ers? I guess it's Tom and I were talking when it first came out about what's the most difficult stretch of the schedule. And I think it's probably right before the bye, right? It's in that Bengals stretch for that 4 or 5 week period there.
Yeah, the 3-game stretch that really perked got my attention, perked me up, was seeing the Thursday night game of Thanksgiving against Seattle, up in Seattle, and then the following week at Philadelphia, and then the week after that again Seattle. So when I look at the NFC West, I don't think that the Rams are going to get their way back in there. I think that ship has kind of sailed, but they still do have some firepower offensively and defensively, so they could surprise some people, but I kind of doubt it. But Seattle's a team on the rise. Seattle's a team that was a lot better last year than a lot of people thought, and then they were able to add the best cornerback on their board and the best wide receiver on their board. So, Seattle probably feels like they're ready to give the 49ers a challenge. So when you think about, the team that is going to potentially challenge the 49ers for the division, that's Seattle. When you think about the team in the NFC that poses the biggest threat to the 49ers, that's the Philadelphia Eagles. And they have all those games against those two teams in a 3-week span. So that's kind of the area of the schedule that I look at. Also a little bit surprised that none of the networks picked up that Eagles game for prime time. And I'm assuming it won't get flexed because I think, Fox can block certain games, and for the NFL to announce that game beforehand, they announced that Eagles game the day before the entire schedule was released. I would take that as a sign that game will definitely remain on Fox.
And I guess maybe the only comfort for the 49ers, Matt, is knowing that, look, you mentioned that week 12 at Seattle, week 13 at Philly, week 14 at home against Seattle stretch. Brock Purdy, if he's going to play this season, would probably be back by then, correct?
Definitely. And if he's not, then you're looking at, probably won't see Brock Purdy again until 2024. But yeah, it's funny because the day after the schedule came out, we had that event, Dwight Clark Legacy event, and Kyle Shanahan was there, and I asked him about that schedule and about the Philadelphia Eagles, and he said that he did not want to face Eagles week 1. He wanted it later in the season when the way he worded it was, have our entire team back. Of course, you never know, how teams are going to look that deep into the season, but I'm assuming he was speaking specifically about Brock Purdy and hoping that he'll be healthy and ready to go at that point in the season. But, by suggesting that he was happy that game wasn't week 1, that's a pretty clear nod that he's thinking that, he'd much rather, he wants to face the Eagles with Purdy, a quarterback, based on what he did once he got into the lineup. So, how the team's going to look early in the season compared to how they're going to look later in the season, I mean, it's anybody's guess. I mean, always, without fail, any team is not the same week 1 as it is later. So, that does give Purdy the best chance to be the guy that he was, and maybe even better than he was when the season ended last year.
One other detail here, 2 other details I wanted to point out. I like the balance of the NFC West here. You get the Rams week 2, you get Arizona week 4, and then you don't get another one. As you pointed out, you get the weird matchup between Seattle and the Niners, but that could make for a lot of fun drama at the back end of the season there, kind of like we had last year. Also, turkey leg on Thanksgiving. I mean, they've been waiting to do that up in Seattle again. They wanted to do that on the field. But no 3-game roadies and a bunch of division games late is kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and also one of the things the 49ers have done, and they do have so many East Coast games, or at least Eastern time zone games, and typically the team has asked for back-to-back so they can cut down on their travel and stay back east. But, they've done that a lot. And this last year was the first year where I felt like there was kind of fatigue with that, of being able to stay or being forced to stay in the same location for a week. Last year it was Carolina 1 week, and then they stayed at the Greenbrier in West Virginia throughout that week where they practiced, and then they went to Atlanta. And I just don't think that they had the greatest experience at the Greenbrier. That'd been the 3rd time they've been there, and then they went to Atlanta and got their butts kicked. So I think that they were kind of over that whole thing. And the way the schedule sets up this year, there's really no opportunity or no reason for them to do that. The one thing that also kind of stands out is, from a disadvantage standpoint, they are facing 4 teams that are coming off their bye weeks. Now, one of those teams is the Jaguars, and the 49ers are coming off their bye week at the same time. On the surface, you look at week 3 and you see that the New York Giants are playing a Thursday game at Levi Stadium. And so you think, well, that's a huge advantage for the 49ers, that, the Giants traveling across the country on a short week. But then, the NFL, certainly, I don't think the NFL would have done this otherwise, but the Giants play the week before, the Sunday, in Arizona. So the Giants will stay in Arizona and then make the, whatever it is, 2-hour flight to the Bay Area and face the 49ers on a short week. So, that one, look at the schedule, that's a huge advantage. But then when you dig a little bit deeper and see how the Giants are going to approach that, not so big of an advantage for the 49ers, who the week before, while the Giants are playing in Arizona, the 49ers are playing in LA. So, that one kind of balances out as well.
Now that we know how the schedule looks for the 49ers, Matt, I got to ask you, outside of an NFC West city, where are you looking forward to traveling this year?
You know what? There aren't any games that really jump out. I do enjoy Pittsburgh.
It's a great city.
It is a great city, and it's it's one of those cities where they're all about their team. Mm-hmm. I'm sure people who cover the NFL and come to San Francisco, for instance, and even when the team was playing in Candlestick, I mean, I don't think you could walk down Union Street or any part of San Francisco and see people, just tons of people wearing 49er jerseys. Sure, you'll see here, one here or there. You certainly don't see that in L.A. or a lot of other cities. But I remember the first time I went to Pittsburgh, I didn't know the city was as beautiful as it is. If you get a chance to take that incline up on Mount Washington and you see the confluence of the three rivers, don't put me on the spot right now to name them, but
just give me one.
If you walk, what is it? The Ohio,
that's
the
just up there.
Monongahela,
That's good.
and the Allegheny.
Allegheny.
Yeah.
There we go. I think I got them. But in Pittsburgh, you walk around the city, everybody's wearing Steeler jerseys. So it's a neat city. That would probably be the one that kind of stands out to me, and also the fact that it's week 1 of the season.
Dude, that sounded like Matt got hung up on.
Hey, mic drop.
Perfect soundbite there, Matt. That is the final week of the season. That's all right. We're going to let Matt go anyway. Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area, does a great job covering the 49ers. I was trying to see if maybe he was going to get a Reds-Pirates game that weekend in Pittsburgh. No, they're in Atlanta. I was like, that'd be sweet that if you get another Homer
Reds,
Bailey no.
Little Graham Ashcraft no.
Graham Ashcraft, nice. By the way, Bailey had that no-hitter working against the Giants in 2012.
I do remember that.
Yeah, then what happened? Scott Rowland kicked one, and Joaquin Arias beat it out. Rest is history.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of the Giants, I did make an error earlier talking about the Giants with Susan. I said Brandon Crawford was pulled for defense today. No, he was part of that substitution.
Pinch hitter against Soto.
Yeah,
right.
Substitution the Giants did when they wanted to get the righties up there against Soto.
Oh, it worked out, too.
Obviously
J.D. Davis led off
with
with a base hit. They put 3 runs up in that inning.
Yeah.
Tyro gets the
My
base
God.
hit. So it was a good move. Basically, that's what Casey Schmidt's doing. He's giving you more versatility.
Yeah.
And the hope is that we were talking about the starting pitchers and guys who get brought up and take pressure off of other guys innings-wise. I'd like to do the same for Crawford. I'd like him to be healthy, playing games, taking big at-bats. He drove in a run today, had a knock. So Brandon Crawford, a guy who I think we're happy he's back healthy in the lineup, but also when you've got a guy like Casey Schmidt, everybody around him, a little bit of pressure is taken off, and you're not asked to do quite as much. So a little bit better than just moving him off of his position, which I felt wrong about after he's played every inning of his career at shortstop. On the other side, we will see what FP Santangelo has going on. Adam Copeland, Kerry Crowley from the bunker at Oracle Park, streaming on KNBR, KNBR.com, the KNBR app. It's Tolbert and Copes on the Sports Leader. Draymond Green joined Stephen A. Smith on ESPN and said the Warriors would still be playing if not for him punching Jordan. Okay, man. Check out more on that story trending on the all-new KNBR app. Attention sports fans, brace yourselves for an unforgettable showdown. That's right, San Jose Earthquake Soccer back on July 1st for a legendary matchup. It's the 97th California Classico. It electrifies Stanford Stadium as the San Jose Earthquakes go head-to-head with their longtime adversaries, the LA Galaxy. It's no ordinary match. It's a summertime tradition. I've been down there myself to go to the California Classico. Been a handful of years, but it's coming back July 1st, 7:30, down at Stanford Stadium, a tradition like no other. Prepare for the spectacular event. They've got a kids zone for friends and or for families and for kids. They've got a heartfelt tribute to military heroes, a post-game fireworks show, plus the first 30,000 fans are going to get a Quakes jersey-shaped rally towel. Don't miss out on the Bay Area's biggest summer sporting event. Get your tickets now at sjearthquakes.com. Be part of history. It's the 97th California Classico, and it all unfolds July 1st at 7:30. Get ready for an adrenaline-pumping Clash of Titans. Go to sjearthquakes.com to secure your tickets today. All right, wrapping things up here from the bunker at Oracle Park. Tom will be back tomorrow. Kerry, thanks for sitting in today, man. It's fun hanging out. I guess I got to turn your mic on.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to say that.
Like, that's enough of you? No, okay.
I skipped out early, you know? That's good stuff.
FP Santangelo is back at the station. FP, what's going on, man?
This is weird. I'm at the station. You guys are in the bunker. We're just doing a little flipperoo today. And hey, I want to apologize. I left the bunker a mess last night. I had like my I don't know what, a Topo Chica sitting there and all the scorecards to your left. Coach.
Everybody can see it. I mean, there you go.
I know, but you can see it. I forgot. I didn't know we were streaming.
These are Girl Scout cookies, by the way. I've been wondering for days. Like, there were boxes and bags of them for weeks.
Lucille sold those to me, and that's my munchies after the game. I eat Girl Scout cookies.
Hold on. Back it up. Hold on. Lucille is selling, like on the side, like he's hustling them, or he's doing it for like his troop.
Well, the Clark Kent of Lucille sold them to me.
Okay,
so
everyone needs a side gig in San Francisco to get by.
Everyone needs a side hustle. Yeah right. Lucille pays rent with Girl Scout cookies.
So I think it's cool that people can see what the bunker looks like. I've had a bunch of tweets over the last couple of seasons saying, "What is the bunker? Where is the bunker?" You know, usually people are flashing me in that window behind you guys on the way out of the ballpark. It's a fun place to do a show from.
You're in a fishbowl because you're sitting here, like as you point out, you're looking at just out a window, and I can see like one hallway. You can't see very far on either side. It's actually really funny, FP. Before we got going, Kerry and I were sitting in here, and dude, you know, people come by, they're waving, they're looking in, they just want to see what's going on. And guy comes by, and I was stepping out to use the restroom before the show started. This guy goes, "Dude, it's just like on NBC when you're outside of the games and you're like getting on TV." And I said, "Bro, we're not on TV." And he looked back in, and I just walked away. But I'm like, "There's no camera in here facing out to you. Like, who do you think we're talking to? We're talking to each other, sitting here at this table." So it was a lighter crowd today, obviously, but a hell of a performance by this Giants bullpen. Casey Schmidt's continuing to put it together, and I think Kerry and I have been talking all day about what young guys do for you when they come up and they perform well. FP, I don't know if you can remember some that help teams out that you were on, but guys who, one, they can help you, carry a lineup or extend rallies and whatnot. Pitchers come up and they save everybody else. If you could eat some innings for them, they help you out. I think that's the next move. Is the Giants are going to need somebody else who can help this rotation and this bullpen. But right now, Casey Schmidt has been a godsend, I think, for the mentality of the fan base and for this Giants lineup.
And maybe the mentality of the veterans. And that to me, that's what a rookie that comes up and performs does. It takes you back to when you were a rookie. Because a lot of times in baseball it becomes a business where I have my routine, I drive to the ballpark, I get there at the same day, I sit on the training table, I get my treatment, I go lift weights. I go to the cage. I take batting practice. I eat my dinner. I shower. I get my uniform on. I go out and play. And after 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, it becomes routine. Not like a job. You're not digging ditches. But then all of a sudden, here comes this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid that reminds me what it was like as a rookie. And he's saying stupid things and maybe acting all excited and can't believe he's here. And that energy, you start to live vicariously through this guy, and it takes you back. And then you're like, oh, my God, this is so – I'm getting goosebumps telling you guys. This is so cool. And now I remember what it's like to be a rookie, and I start to maybe loosen up a little bit in the clubhouse and loosen up in the game and live vicariously through this guy. So while as Giants fans, we're all wrapping our arms around this guy, and I think I could probably do 4 hours of Casey Schmidt tonight, and we love this kid and what he brings to the table.
I'd like it if you would, and I'd enjoy it.
I mean, yeah, I have a man crush on the kid already. So, like, my guess is that he has more of an effect besides the tangible things that you can see as, the throws across the infield that I just giggle at. That's all I can do now. I just go, I see 94 across, there's nothing else to say. But the effect that you have on maybe an older group as a young guy coming in, that you can screw around with him, you can needle him, you can play jokes on him. Young guys add life not only to the fan base, but to the clubhouse too. And I would guess, without being in there every day, based on experience, that this is what he's doing for those guys.
Well, you mentioned one of those things, say stupid things, give stupid quotes. Today, he was asked, what does this 3-game sweep against the Phillies tell you about your team? And FP, he goes, that we're awesome.
Exactly. Like what you would say on Instagram or something, or on Twitter if you were a kid. Yeah, we're awesome.
How awesome are we?
Yeah, and literally that throw today, I'm sure you guys talked about it. It 94 miles an hour across the infield. It has carry to it, and its accuracy is amazing. And what I always go to, you can have a good arm like that. Sean Dunston had one, but he didn't know where the hell it was going half the time. And Mark Grace's wrist would be all bruised. This guy has the confidence, the calmness, and the relaxation to let it eat across the infield as hard as he can, with the risk of throwing it in the third row to hit Lamont Wade Jr. in the chest every single time. Like, this is awesome what we're seeing, you guys. And we saw a glimpse of it in Scottsdale, and he looked the part, and I was kind of clamoring. Not clamor, I'd say, like, hinting that he should have made the team.
Yeah, we see that in spring. Like Brian Dellamore had 500. You know what I mean?
No, but there's just a thing that you can see. He looked the part in spring, and he's this is fun, man. And I call them all up. I don't care what they're doing in AAA. This is fun. Call Kyle Harrison. I don't care if he walks 10 guys. This is fun. I love seeing the young guys.
I don't know if he's walked 10 guys all year. He's been pretty sharp.
But I don't care. Just let's go. This is fun.
What do you got going on tonight, FP?
I have Marty Lurie coming on. Oddly enough, he's coming on, and that's it. We're just going to talk some baseball, and Steve Moskowitz will be on soon, and then we'll just have Marty Lurie on after that.
Good friend of the Copeland family, both Marty and Steve.
And we're on TV. You guys look great in the bunker, man. I think it's cool that people can see the bunker.
Yeah, it is cool. If you haven't checked it out yet this week, KNBR.com, KNBR app, YouTube KNBR page, Twitch, it's all over. You can see the full stream, and FP will be back in the studio. We are in the bunker Cam live. Had Susan Slusser with us earlier today. She stopped by too, so that was a lot of fun. FP, off day tomorrow, dude, and then the fish come to town, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, Carlos Correa is hitting 203, just FYI.
Hell yeah. What's Casey Schmidt hitting?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot.
There we go. All right, dude, we'll catch you later. Have a good show. Kerry, thanks for coming by, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Great day for Tom to take a vacation day.
Interesting move. We had like an hour 45-minute show, and Tom's like, I'm taking it off. I was like, dude, hope you only had to take an hour 45 vacation day too.
Thank you, Tom.
Out of your full day. Thanks to our guest today. Thanks to Monty Poole, who stopped by from NBC Sports Bay Area. Susan Slusser came into the bunker here after the Giants got the win over the Phillies to complete the 3-game sweep, and then Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area, talking some 49ers schedule among fan accolades.
Yeah, Homer Bailey no-hitters.
Homer Bailey.
Who among us hasn't seen
You got
him?
one? You got a random fan accolade you love to see?
Oh, gosh. Watching the Kick 6 live, that's one of my claims to fame. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, Kick 6.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
so, I'll leave it there. Perfect game is kind of, I don't know, that takes the cake.
Yeah, I was
3 Homer World Series.
I was in the Cape Cod League in 2014 when a guy, that's, summer collegiate league, you never let a guy go more than 3 innings.
Summer catch, Jessica Biel, and Freddie Prinze Jr.
Lived that life. The kid throws 8 2/3 innings of no-hit ball.
By the way,
and it gets broken up.
And he leaves for the woman. He says, "What's a perfect game?" And then she goes, "I'm going to the airport." And then he leaves the perfect game. Like, you can't throw 2 more pitches, bro. You can't finish the no-no and then get out of town.
We've covered that movie. We've covered Moneyball. What else you want to cover?
That's it. The best two baseball movies ever made: Moneyball and Fever Pitch. No, not Fever Pitch. Summer Catch.
Summer Catch. No love for Little Big League or The Rookie.
Thanks to Tim and thanks to Derek back in the studio. Nice work today, boys. And Carrie, thanks again for coming by. Tom will be back tomorrow, and we'll be on normal time at 2:00. No Giants game tomorrow. We'll be talking a lot of hoops and getting ready for the Marlins to come to town. FP Santangelo is next. It is Tolbert and Copes. You're listening to KNBR and KNBR FM San Francisco, the sports leader at Cumulus Media Station. Take it away, Dirk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Ladies and gentlemen,